Hi, everyone, and welcome to another A&B Horror Movies video. I'm Aaron,
I'm Ben.
and today we are very excited to be joined by Stephen C. Miller. Stephen, thank you so much for talking with us.
Yo,
Thank you
this is
for
awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, we're very happy to have you on. So you directed Silent Night, an awesome Christmas horror. Look at that cover, flamethrower. Let's see, you also directed Margot, Line of Duty, First Kill, Arsenal, Marauders, Extraction, Submerged, and Under the Bed, just to name a few. Very
Yeah,
impressive resume indeed. Let's see, and Scream of the Banshee, a sci-fi 200th original movie starring Lauren Holly on the Sci-Fi Channel, which I thought was cool.
yeah.
Wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. That was actually the second movie I ever made. We in fun trivia on that, we shot that on 35 millimeter film. So that was a fun thing to do.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wicked. And you have also worked with some amazing actors, actresses. Bruce Willis on multiple films, Aaron Eckhart, Dina Meyer from the Saw franchise, Nicolas Cage, John Cusack, Christopher Meloni, Dave Bautista,
Lauren
and
Holly.
we're saying Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah. Sylvester. I mean, you can even throw Jean-Claude Esposito in there, who I love. But yeah, those are some like.
Yeah,
I was very fortunate to be able to work with some of my heroes, action heroes, growing up, which was pretty cool.
That's fantastic. Did you ever, we want to talk about Silent Night, but were you ever starstruck when you met? Was there a certain actor or person you met?
I mean, my first studio film for Lionsgate was also starring Bruce Willis, right? And the first time dealing with Bruce. And so, yeah, you have that moment where you get the movie with people, and then you sit there and an hour later and you're like, wait, this movie stars Bruce Willis. And so you have a whole nother trajectory of feelings that are going on and trying to understand that. So, yeah, it was definitely starstruck, but you have to sort of curb that and go back into trying to make the movie with them
and be a professional. Yes, of course.
How was Sylvester Stallone to work with? Because he seems like a really nice person. Yeah, he looks like he puts 110% into his films.
Yeah, he's very similar to guys like Nick Cage and Cusack, and at least with me, they were all in all the time, total pros. Stallone is beyond pro, right? He is Stallone. So he comes to work every day, ready to go. He wants it to be legit. He wants everything to feel good. But he's also super gracious as an actor with a director because, Sly is also a director. So when you come at him with ideas or what you want to do, he's really cool about opening up and allowing you and giving you the space to work and being you. Escape Plan 2 was a very interesting movie because it was a hard movie to make. And then when we got to the post-production process, the producers were just all over the map and didn't really understand the movie, what I was doing. And so they got in the mix way too much. And Sly was like, these producers suck. So it was a battle towards the end of the movie, not with me and Sly, not even at all with me and Sly. It was always with Sly and the producers and him trying to, battle to get the film better. They just weren't willing to do that. And so, but we came out of it good. And, we still talk from time to time about how crazy that movie was. But yeah, he's always been a pro. Cage is the same way. Pro. I mean, Nick is one of those guys that knows everybody's lines. So if you come in and don't know your line, he's just going to keep going. Like he knows what you're going to say, so he doesn't really need you there. But he's just so good, and he's always got fantastically awesome ideas.
That's excellent. Awesome. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about Silent Night, because we are doing a Christmas themed video this time. Why don't we start with how did this movie come about and how did you get involved with it?
Well, I started out with Silent Night actually further back in like 2007 or 8 when my first movie, Automaton Transfusion, which was a little zombie movie that Dimension Extreme bought. In fact, Dimension Extreme launched their label with my movie. And so the Weinsteins at that time were dealing with the Silent Night, Deadly Night remake, and they had the rights, I believe, at that time. So originally I was in a Silent Night, Deadly Night remake conversation from like day one. So me and a guy named Jared Ribbit had come up with a pitch that we went and pitched producers and we did all this stuff. So very early on, I was involved in trying to remake Silent Night, Deadly Night. And then that process, things happened. That movie sort of went away. I went off to make a couple other movies, indie movies. I did this movie called The Aggression Scale, which did like South by Southwest and a couple other really cool festivals. And so in that, then it came, Anchor Bay came back. They had gotten the rights, and they came back to me and said, "Hey, look, we want to reboot Silent Night, Deadly Night." And we have a script that we think complements it. Because I think my first conversation was, well, I don't want to like reshoot it shot for shot. I don't really do that. That's not really something I'm interested in doing. I'm interested in taking the franchise and having fun with it and sort of putting my own stamp on the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. If we could do something like that, I'm cool with. So yeah, they brought this script to me, which I thought, Jason did such a great job with taking bits of Silent Night, Deadly Night, but really making it its own movie without calling it Silent Night, Deadly Night. And we really sort of let Silent Night, Deadly Night be its own thing, and us try to create a whole new sort of thing with ours. That's why it's sort of always been like a soft reboot or a remake, whatever you want to call it. But it still lives in the Silent Night, Deadly Night family because it's got those rights attached to it. And that was the original conversation was, do we call it Silent Night, Deadly Night? Do we call it whatever? And I was always a fan of not calling it Silent Night, Deadly Night. I liked that it separated itself. So if people watched it, they weren't like, "Oh, yeah, I get it. It's part of that, or maybe it is, or I don't know." But it's just its own movie, right? And like, obviously, there's like 2 or 3 scenes that are direct nods to the movie, like no doubt, like straight up, this is from the original that I loved, and I put it in there, right? But for the most part,
the antlers scene, right? With
antlers,
on
the old grandpa sort of telling him he's, Santa's
exactly.
coming, right? He's got you, right? Like,
Scariest day of
and
the
those
year.
sequences,
yeah,
those kind of things. I was like, those are scenes that I directly remembered heavily growing up. Was that grandpa telling him like Christmas is the scariest night of the year? I remember seeing that when I was like 8 years old, going, yeah, it's pretty creepy that this guy drops in from the chimney and we're all asleep. That's kind of fucked up. So like, so I definitely wanted to sort of infuse that into my movie. But yeah, that's how it got started. It was a pretty fun process.
Very cool. Good answer.
You've also got some really cool actors in this film, but before we get to them, I've got to ask, with all Christmas films, I have to ask this: what time of the year did you film it? Because
good question. So we shot the movie. So I got up to Winnipeg, Canada, where we shot it. I got up there late December, and the crazy part is I got there in January. We were ready to go, and then they had a financial issue, and I literally had to sit up in Winnipeg for like a month and a half. And it was, by the time we got to shooting, the snow had melted. And it was a big bummer, right? Because when we got there, the whole idea was it was going to look insanely Christmassy, snow, all of this stuff. But by the time we actually start shooting was actually more like beginning of March. And so we had to recreate snow. But if you actually watch the film, which you guys did, but like, if you really pay attention, my camera angles are all low angle looking up, right? Because I tried to keep the camera off the ground as much as possible, because the sky still gave me that great feeling and I could get that. But I really tried to keep it low level, except when we're in the Christmas tree farm. It was impossible. It's green everywhere. But like, for the most part, walking through town with Jamie King, she's walking through, if you really pay attention to the camera motifs, my camera motif was always low angle looking up to try to stay off the ground.
Yeah, nicely done. I think that was it kind of gave a nice tone to it. I also like the use of colors throughout the film. So like the red filters, there's reds and greens, and sort of gives like a real Christmas kind of feel to it. I guess my question is, the practical effects are amazing in this. You got the wood chipper scene, which is awesome. The priest gets his fingers cut off. The antler scene. What was it like working with practical effects and the I guess the effects experts that were on the team?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm an 80s kid at heart. So all of my films try to be as practical as possible. And the practical effects are something that I really enjoy. I think visual effects are fantastic and can enhance practical. But for me, anything I can see, touch, feel on camera on the day allows me, and I think the crew, to really go, okay, this is going to be wild. Effects team was fantastic. I believe it was Vincent Gustani and team that we actually had up there. And he did a really great job. Moldings and heads and anything I asked for, which just kept getting crazier through pre-production. He was like, yeah, I can make happen. So there was never a time where he was like, this is not going to happen, or we can't do this, or it's too much. Like the hardest piece of the puzzle for me was just like there's a scene where Santa throws an axe and the axe swirls through camera and slices her Achilles heel, right? That axe is total CGI, right? But everything else is real. So those are the kind of things of how I mix and had some fun with it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
The effects
it
were
looks
amazing.
good.
Actually.
Yep.
Yeah, they did look good. Yeah, I was just about to say, I thought the axe looked pretty real.
Yeah,
So
to be honest, it's sort of a mix, right? Like we shot a real axe, like flipping through the air on a green screen, and that just didn't work. And then so weirdly enough, our guys in the CG land were like, we can do that. It's no big deal. And they did it, and it looked fucking great.
Yeah, did look
Yeah.
cool.
It was awesome.
I've got to ask, with the actors, you've got some really good actors in here. You got Malcolm McDowell was in the Rob Zombie's Halloween. Jamie King, I believe, was in White Chicks in Sin City. Is it Donald Lodge?
Donald Lodge. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Blade, I believe, one of the lampos. And when my partner realised, I think it was a childhood crush, was Brendan Fair at the start, which I didn't notice, but she did. I think she used to watch a lot of Roswell, so yeah.
That's cool.
I've got to ask, what was Malcolm McDowell like to work with? Because he always seems pretty, as an actor anyway, just seems pretty intense.
Yeah, he's really not. He's really awesome. He's really fun. In fact, Malcolm was the last piece of the puzzle. In fact, I was in Winnipeg's I was in a hotel, and I was coming down the stairs, and Malcolm was having breakfast in the hotel. He was already shooting a movie there. I believe it was the Home Alone 5 or whatever one that came on TV. I can't remember, but he was shooting a movie in Winnipeg, and I just walked up to him, and I sat down as he was having breakfast, and he was like, "Hello," and I was like, "Yo, Malcolm, like, I'm shooting a movie here. I think you'd be killer for it." And he was like, kind of like, And I was like, this did Silent Night, Deadly Night. And he was like, wait, Silent Night, Deadly Night? I love that movie. What do you mean? You're remaking? And I was like, yeah, it's like a soft reboot. So anyway, I got Malcolm McDowell at a breakfast, just awesome. Happenstance of him in the hotel. There was no talk of Malcolm in this movie. We hadn't gotten there yet to discuss that character. But as soon as I saw him, it just sort of sparked in my brain that he would be fantastic as this sort of, wannabe sharp, old school, almost like Wild West kind of guy. Yeah. And that's really what we talked about, is like, how do we go like sort of Wild West with this fucking character, so he feels like he's, in the mix, and he wants to be in the mix, but he's kind of too old to be in the mix. And, like, how can we have a lot of fun with that? Because, to me, and him, horror does well with comedy, right? And I tried to really ride the line of that in this movie, where allowing the audience to have fun, allowing the audience to laugh, and really trying to take them off guard once they laugh, to hit them with something hard afterwards. That's something that me and Malcolm talked about heavily for this movie, and so he really got it and jumped right in.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. I was like, wow, he's really good at playing an ass. So. Yeah, no,
he sure was perfect awesome role for him, and that's a great story of how you got him.
Yeah.
You mentioned the snow melting. Were there any other challenges that you didn't expect with when making this film?
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're making a movie like this, it's always challenges when it comes to effects. And we talked about the practical effects, that they're great, but they're challenging because it takes time to set up. It takes time to reset. Once you're going, you mentioned Brendan Fair in the movie, like Brandon's whole sequence with the light bulbs and like going off and like shattering and sparking everywhere. I mean, that was a whole ordeal, not just because of the sparking, but safety purposes and making sure he's safe and making sure all of that looks great. And at the same time, so, and that was like probably our second day of shooting. So that whole sequence was just very challenging because I was wanting it to happen in camera. as the camera was flying up the light bulbs and going up to his face. So that sequence to me was all of them was a very challenging sequence to get right as far as human safety, special effects going off, you know, and practical effects of his face bloody and all this kind of stuff. So those kind of challenges every day are hard on a horror movie, especially when you're trying to do something cool and outdo yourself every kill. So I think the other biggest challenge is just the namesake of the movie, and trying to live up to the film being a solid remake, right? No one goes in trying to make a bad movie. You're going in with the intention to make something as cool as possible. At least I know I am. As cool as possible, as fun as possible, and especially with this, trying to honor it as much as possible with a Christmas horror film, trying to do something that obviously people haven't seen, but feel like safe enough that they're in the same world. So I think that's a big challenge.
Yeah, well, I would say
Yeah,
you
I
accomplished it successfully. But go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, no, I like the way that it was. You had your nods, but it was completely different, and I think it sort of went for me the same sort of way as the new Halloween's did. That it went astray enough to be enjoyable, and to go, well, I haven't seen all this. It's new, and I think I reckon that's the way films should go now, instead of keep just remaking.
And I think most horror fans like us, because we love horror films, I can recognize that kind of thing and appreciate it. And that's always how I felt with movies, even like Last House on the Left or Dawn of the Dead, right? Those reboots, like, to me, those were close enough but far enough away that were so fun and cool. Even the Texas Chainsaw remake, to me, was just all, had its own flavor to it, right? And
sure. That's a good one.
I've never been a I hate remake guy. I'm not that. I'm just a horror guy, right? I'm just a movie guy. Like, I like watching horror movies. I like watching movies. If it's a reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it, I'm down to watch and give every movie its fair share and take. And so, I don't prejudge anything. So, even coming into this movie, obviously I had to deal with a lot of that prejudging already. But I think you just go into it trying to make the best movie possible. And like you said, if I can separate it enough, I think the audience appreciates that.
Yeah, something new, but still honoring and truthful to the original. I think that's a win. I mean, I think like the Psycho remake, I think the mistake that they made is that it was a carbon copy of the original.
Totally. Totally. That was something I expressed heavily, that I wasn't going to do a shot for shot reboot. I think they even did that with another movie remake. I can't remember. Maybe it was Cabin Fever. I think they did like a shot for shot thing. But
they did.
The shot for shot remake is just tough. I just don't know. I don't know the purpose of that if the filmmaker's not allowed to expand on the universe. So
yes. Yep, absolutely. Ben, I cut you off. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, was it? Did you have in your mind which sort of out of the original Silent Night, which bits you were wanting to have like a nod to? Or did you?
Yeah, I knew that going in. Like, the script didn't have the nods. That was sort of me coming in going, I like this script. Can we infuse the original movie in here somehow? And so that's what, I kind of, my goal was to try to figure out how to do that and get it into the movie. But, there's also a weird nod to Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 in the movie because I really loved the Garbage Day reference in Silent Night 2, where he's got the gun and he's like, "It's garbage day." It's like one of my favorite lines in the whole series. So
and his eyes are huge. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, there's one nod in my movie where he's walking out with the trash at the end of the night and he's like, "What is this, garbage day?" Like, so there's certain little pieces that like I threw in there if I never got to make another one. You know what I mean? That I was like, all right, I'm going to dip into the sequel just a little bit. But yeah.
Cool. We do have some viewer questions. Why don't we jump into that if that works? Ben, do you have any other questions?
Sure. Yeah.
You want to?
I was just going to ask actually.
Go ahead.
So with a lot of horror movies, say like with Christmas films, you've got all the Christmas lights and you've got quite bright lights anyway. With certain horror films, directors say when there's something like scary happening or something going to happen, they put like a brighter, more intense light in. So I'm just wondering, with all the multiple colours and bright lights and everything with a Christmas movie, is that more difficult to sort of intensify a scene, or does it make it easier?
I think it actually makes it a little easier. Yeah, because then you can sort of dim everything else and only those Christmas lights are present. And it allows you to kind of mood it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
I actually like, if you watch a lot of my movies, I throw Christmas lights in the background no matter what, because I like the twinkly look in the BG. I just like that there's something separating the character from the background. And I like that sort of feel. So when it came to a Christmas movie, I was sort of like right at home with trying to make that scary. And I also just feel like there's something about Christmas lights that are very comforting and very soothing for an audience or anybody in general. They're just very calming. And so if you can disarm the audience with those lights and it feel calming and inviting, and then you're hitting them with, let's say, a girl getting cattle prodded, it just, the audience feels more violent about it, right? It becomes more violent because you're in a safe space. Hitting them with something violent, that violence becomes even more intensified, and it has nothing to do with the lighting. It's just that they feel safe, right? And then you're in that safe space fucking them up. That's a cool thing to do.
I've got to say that cattle
that.
prod scene was a lot more satisfying than it should have been.
That sequence specifically, I remember the producers was like, "Can we kill a kid? Can we cattle prod a kid?" And I was like, well, if we make her the worst kid possible, then I think the audience will freak out and jump up and down about it. Yeah, get her, if she is on another level from Willy Wonka, you know what I mean? If she's on another level from that little girl, the egg girl of Willy Wonka, if we can get her there, and then the audience is going to be on board no matter what.
Yes. Yeah, when she knocked the heart pills out of her mouth, and I was like, oh, she's got to be getting it.
She's gonna get it.
Yes. Oh, and she sure does. What does she say? I didn't ask for that. Right before it happens. So good. Okay, well, let's get into the viewer questions. I can go first. This one is from Billy Joseph Jr. At Billy_Joseph_Jr. He said, maybe it's cliche, but what film influenced you the most when creating Silent Night? I have some really vivid memories of watching 1984 Silent Night, Deadly Night. And I feel that your 2012 film is a modern throwback to the slasher era of the 80s. Also, I love that you are a fellow Southern boy, being from Georgia and I from South Carolina. That's a long one, but a great question.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a long, no, but that's cool. Both from the South. That's cool. But yeah, so obviously Silent Night, Deadly Night was a huge influence, but an actual other Christmas horror movie that I don't know a lot of people watch is a movie called Christmas Evil. Christmas Evil was a big influence on me for this movie. I grew up more
right over here
Christmas
somewhere.
Evil. Yeah, somewhere. I watched more Christmas Evil than I did Silent Night, Deadly Night. I think because Christmas Evil was meaner to me. It was a little bit more story driven. It was a little bit more intense, and it really fed into the Christmas lore more than Silent Night, Deadly Night. But Christmas Evil was a movie I looked at heavily as far as how can I make my movie feel as mean as that movie, and still have some lightness to it. But yeah, like I really enjoyed Christmas Evil, and that's obviously from the 80s too. So I am an 80s kid. Obviously, any slasher movie from the 80s, I was watching to watch this movie, but grew up on those movies, right? So, I mean, I can even see your Sleepaway Camp box set up there. So, like, all of those movies are big influences on me when it came to horror films, but specifically Christmas Evil when it came to Christmas horror.
That's a good one. I love that one too. Great choice. Let's see, Ben, do you want to do the next one, or do you want me to keep going?
Yep. Nate from Saurosaurus, he's asked. I know I can see it. Will we ever get a sequel to Silent Night? If not, would you ever return to the Christmas horror movie?
So the sequel question has come up a lot, right? Like, because that's something I would have loved to have done. It's like, it's all a rights thing, right? Like, all of the rights are entangled with different studios and who owns it. And went back to the original Silent Night, Deadly Night writers, creators. And so it's sort of been entangled there. I believe they even hired someone else to do another reboot at one point. And I don't know what happened to that, because they sort of came to me with that sort of like the blessing of do you care? I don't have any say in that, so I didn't care. You know what I mean? It's cool. Now, would I revisit Christmas Horror? Probably not. Like, if it's not Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise, like probably not, just because I actually have seen so many great ones over the past 5 years that are so good. In fact, there's more coming out right now. I mean, Terrifier 3 is going to be a Christmas horror film,
Christmas,
right?
yes.
Like,
oh, cool. Yeah.
and so like, yeah, so it's like, you know, for me, it's getting covered. The bases are getting covered. New filmmakers are covering it. I don't think I have any more to say in that space. I think horror I'll always be a fan of and do, but back to Christmas horror, it'd really take a lot for me to go back to Christmas horror. It would be either a sequel to this or something extremely I guess cool, extremely different, an extremely cool take. But otherwise, I feel like I kind of did what I needed to do in that space.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, did you imagine this? I just have a question here. Did you ever imagine that it would have such longevity and that people would still be watching it 11 years later?
Honestly, no. I actually thought, to be honest, it feels like it's caught fire the past like 4 or 5 years, right? Like it felt like, to me, it kind of disappeared for a minute in the late 2010s. Like, it was like, you know, I was like, all right, well, I made that. That kind of just went away. And then, I don't know, around COVID time, it just kind of like caught fire again, or 2019 or so. And people really started gravitating to it and picking it up and watching it, and sort of started finding its life again, which is really cool. Yeah, I had no idea. When you make a movie like that, you're just kind of going, right? And what it does, it does. And so for it to keep coming back every Christmas now, and it's now I get to have these awesome podcasts every Christmas, or like people on,
cool.
you know, Twitter or Instagram or whatever, constantly putting up articles that it's one of their top 10. You know, it's really cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
I said before the video that I'd only just watched it today, but I must admit I have seen the cover with the Santa Claus and the flamethrower. I've seen it so many times, and I don't know why. I guess sort of Christmas goes past so quickly, and then I don't really want to watch a Christmas film out. But it is such a good film. It's worth the watch.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
yes.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you know, I try to, people say that a lot, like they're just now finding it, which is, like, again, so super cool, because I don't care if people find it now or 10 years from now. As long as people are still watching, that's cool for me.
Yeah,
I've
that's
got
awesome.
to ask, because it's just asked, if you go back, if you couldn't do another Silent Night, would you return to Christmas? Have you ever thought about going to like do something for Halloween, or do you think that's been done enough? Or
yeah, I mean, look, I would love to find a space for Halloween. Obviously, Halloween is like, man, that space has been done a lot. You know, and Mother's Day obviously has been done a lot. Like, so I'm all about holidays, like Thanksgiving. I mean, Eli's crushing that right now, right? So like, you know, I love holiday horror. If there was something interesting that was brought up for any of these holidays, I'd be open. Again, it's like, for me, these spaces are just so tackled that it's like, it would really have to be interesting. If it's just sort of a recycle or a retread of something, then I probably wouldn't be interested. But if it's interesting, yeah, definitely.
Cool. We could use maybe some more Easter horror movies.
Sure. I don't even know that I've seen Easter besides like Bill and Ted 2, right? That Easter bunny, that was the most horrifying thing ever coming down at him. But
Easter Bunny Massacre, that's out there. It's not,
yeah.
I don't know if I'd recommend that. What, Ben?
I was just wondering, because we said, like, saying about, I said to Aaron about Terrifier, the new one, being at Christmas, and I was like, that's kind of saved it for me, because I was thinking, not another Halloween one, which is quite good to sometimes shift, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they made the right move. I think putting that at Christmas time is going to be a lot of fun for Art the Clown. I think he's going to have some fun with the Christmas peeps. He's going to take them out.
Well, for sure. Well, let's get back to the viewer questions. So this is Cody from Frightful Night Media. We actually talked about this already, but he asked, how was it like working with Malcolm McDowell? But he did ask, are there any plans for a special edition release of Silent Night, perhaps a 4K steelbook would be awesome.
I have heard that. Yeah, I've heard rumblings of that, which would be awesome. I don't know exactly when or if. I just know I've been talked to about it, and I'm all for it. So I'm a big steelbook guy. So like I pushed for a steelbook, which would be awesome. And especially 4K steelbook of some kind would be killer. Yeah, it would be great. I've heard rumblings. There's nothing to confirm, but it's definitely something being talked about.
Excellent.
I
Maybe
just see
next year.
Aaron's ears prick up then.
I even gave a thumbs
What's that?
up.
So,
Oh yeah.
Aaron's ears prick up then.
Alright, we've got just a few more. Ben, do you want to do the next one?
This is Stefan from Movie Devotion _77. What was your biggest fear of doing a Christmas themed movie?
I think my biggest fear is probably upsetting my parents, just because of how much my family in general loves Christmas, and to do something that totally disregards the Christmas vibe and tanks it completely was kind of nerve-wracking for me, because I do enjoy my family's opinions of my films, and like especially my parents, oddly enough, they're big supporters of mine. They always have been. So doing a Christmas themed horror film for me right off the bat, in all honesty, was a little nerve wracking, just from that standpoint. But if it came to just in filmmaking standpoint of a Christmas horror, is that there were some really great Christmas horror films. So even trying to live up to that was very difficult to get past, and trying to just make sure that I kept telling myself I didn't have to one up myself every time. I didn't have to try to be better. I just needed the movie to be good and enjoyable. Yeah. And then if it happens to land somewhere, great. But yeah, those kind of fears all go into movies in general. But I think a Christmas movie is amplified because there's some classics.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the next one is from Cheers Up Cinema. We actually talked about this already. Can we expect to see more horror from you? So I think you sort of gave an answer to that. But thank you, Cheers Up Cinema. And he also said possibly a sequel to any of your older work. I think you talked about that as well.
Yeah, we talked about that. Like, I know everybody wants an Automaton Transfusion sequel. I get that all the time.
That would be cool.
Totally would be awesome to do. Again, it's like funny because it was bought by Dimension, so the rights are entangled in all kinds of webbing stuff over there. But the movie does come back to me, and I will retain rights back. I think it's 2026 or 27. So then I can start really talking about redoing something, or yeah. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like the sequel train, it hasn't really come up in any of the other movies, just because they're normally one-offs. Yeah.
Okay. Ben, why don't I do the next one and then you can take the last one? That's okay. Yeah. So this is from Anthony. From Anthony's Movies Are Garbage. I love that. He said, of the original Silent Night, Deadly Night series, parts 1 through 5, what is your ranking of best to worst?
I think I'm probably go 1, 3, 2, 5, 4. Yeah, that would probably be me.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Let's see. He also said, what is your favorite change you made in Silent Night, viewing it as an homage to the OG Silent Night, Deadly Night films? What was your favorite change?
I think my favorite change is probably the antlers. And just I tried to make it a little bit more brutal than the original. But I think that sequence specifically was probably my favorite to alter, I guess, in a little bit of a way. Yeah.
Cool. All right, Ben, over to you. The last one from Brian.
This is from Brian from Freight Voorhees. Hello, Brian. Do you have any crazy or fun Nicolas Cage stories?
Nick's stories are always fun. So like Nick for the movie. So we did a movie called Arsenal together, right? And Arsenal, me and Nick first met up about Arsenal. We were talking about the movie and talking about other things. And I happened to mention that I was a big fan of another movie of his from the early 90s called Deadfall. So Deadfall is a wacky Nicolas Cage movie in the early 90s. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie.
I think I've seen that.
But Deadfall is bonkers, right? Like we're talking like a coked out character, like who is Nick has like this fake nose on, he has a fake mustache on, and he is out of his mind in his Deadfall movie, right? And so I happened to say I liked that, and Nick said, "Well, why don't we just make this a spiritual sequel to that?" And so me and Nick actually planned, without the studio knowing, that we were going to do a spiritual sequel to Deadfall, which meant he was going to show up with a fake nose, fake mustache. It was going to be fake hair. It was going to be a wild, wild west kind of thing. And we did that. And he showed up, and the studio was having a fit. They were like, "What is this nose? What is all this going on? You got to tell him he can't wear that." And I was like, "I'm not telling him he can't do anything." I was like, "If you don't like it, you can walk in his trailer and you can tell Nick not to wear it." And everybody's like, "No, no, no. I guess we don't want to, da 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 da." But like, so anyway, but that was really wild. And then Nick to come on set and just have so much fun with that character. He really brought it to a different level than what the script was, because then the script was a little bit generic, to be quite honest with you. And Nick really found a way to have more fun with it, and I was all for it, because at that point I was on my third film with Lionsgate, and sort of these action these quick and action films, and so I was wanting to do something really ridiculous and different and not feel typical action movie. So he allowed that, and but he's just a really cool guy.
Awesome.
Nice. His other question is, other than the movies you directed with Bruce Willis, what are your favorite Bruce Willis movies?
I mean, it's easily Die Hard. Die Hard is my ultimate Bruce movie, and it's a Christmas movie, which is great that we're talking about it, right? So like, Bruce and me talked about Die Hard. In fact, one of the great sequences that we were doing together, he didn't have a gun, and I was like, and he was like, "I need a gun, and I was like, "No, Bruce, you don't have a gun in this scene. We just, you're tied up." And he's like, "But Steven, I'm John McClane. I get a gun." And I think it sort of registered with me in that moment. Like, I can't really argue with him when he says that. So like, but anyway, but yeah, it's always been Die Hard for me. The original Die Hard is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I can watch that movie every Christmas and still have fun with it, even though we've worked together. It's one of those things I can sort of put aside and like really watch it still as a fan. Yeah.
Awesome.
Is there any 80s action hero who you'd like to work with that you haven't?
I'd love to work with Arnold. I haven't gotten to work with Arnold yet. I've been so close on like 4 or 5 different movies. He's close. He's a really great guy. We've met, but we've never been able to work together. But he is really cool. Shoot, I would love to hang out with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'd love to do a movie with him at some point. I'd love to put Jean-Claude Van Damme in a horror movie, to be honest with you, which I think would be really fun.
That would be amazing.
But Arnold's probably the top 80s guy that I haven't worked with, that I feel like I'm just like dancing around with everybody else that's not him. You know what I mean? So it would be cool.
Awesome.
Nice. Awesome.
Well, I did pull together some Christmas horror trivia. This is either going to fall flat or we're going to have fun with it. Let me throw out a few questions and see if we can come up with the answers. The first one is Bob Clark's Canadian holiday horror film was regarded as the first slasher film. Which cast member from the original starred in the remake Black Christmas 2006?
Oh, dude, that's a great question. Who was it?
It's her right here. Phyllis.
Is it really?
Phil, yeah. Andrea Martin.
Phyllis.
She was the house mother in the remake.
I love those movies.
I do too, yes.
Black Christmas is great.
Well, here, this one's easy. In which holiday film would you find a man dressed up as Santa Claus yelling the word naughty?
Yeah, it's got to be Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Of course, there's an easy one. Ben, you want to do the next one? I sent these to you, right, Ben?
Yep. What year did Gremlins come out?
Oh man, is it 1986?
I would have said
Close.
86. It's 84. I thought 86.
84?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize
Roberta-
that came out before Back to the Future. That's crazy.
Yeah. For a bonus, do you know when the second one come out?
Oh man, I'm gonna say 90.
Yes, it was 1990. Let me look up Gremlins.
it.
Maybe I got the year wrong. Ben, do you want to do the next question while I look this up? Yeah, 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Santa's sleigh starred which professional wrestler in the title role?
Which one? What's the question again? Sorry.
Santa's
Santa's
sleigh.
sleigh starred which professional wrestler in the
Oh
title-
yeah, that was Goldberg, right?
Yes, it was.
Yep.
That was the one I don't think I would have known that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's possible.
Bill Goldberg. This was a kind of an obscure horror film, but I like it. It's called, let's see, Dinner is Served is the tagline to this 2017 horror flick about a man who is invited to his date's family Christmas dinner, only to find out that he is set to be the main course. They're going to eat
Man,
him. A little obscure film, but
what's it called? No, I know this one. It's called all right, you're gonna have to tell me. I can't
it's
remember.
Mercy Christmas.
Mercy Christmas. Yeah, that's an obscure one.
That's a good one. Yeah, I liked it though.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
quirky, funny film. Oh, Ben, do you want to do the next one? Just a few more.
Yep. Veteran Scream Queen Brink Stevens stars in this 2018 horror film about a deranged killer dressed as the iconic Christmas character. What is the movie's title?
Total.
Title.
I don't know.
It's called Mrs. Claus. I don't think I've
I've
seen
not
it.
seen that.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I mean, it's got to be worth checking out
Um,
though. If Brink Stevens is in it.
I'm gonna write that one down because I haven't seen that.
Yeah, if you watch,
thought
let
you
us know if it's
Aaron.
good. What's that, Ben?
Yeah.
You've seen it.
I haven't seen
I
it.
thought you'd seen it.
I'll add it to my list. Let's see. You might be home, but you're not alone is the tagline to this 2016 Christmas horror film about a 17-year-old girl named Ashley who is spending her evening babysitting a 12-year-old boy named Luke.
Oh man, I don't know that either, dude. I'm
That's
way
one
out
with-
there.
Oh, this one's good. Better Watch Out, where the kid's like a psycho.
Oh, Better Watch Out. Yes, I
Yeah, yeah.
like that movie. Better Watch Out.
Yeah,
It's cool.
nod to,
First thing that came to my mind for some reason was
Alone.
Anna and the Apocalypse, and I just couldn't get past it. But yeah, Better Watch Out.
Anna and the Apocalypse is good too. Nothing like a zombie musical horror comedy.
Musical. Yeah. Yeah, that one's fun.
We got 3 more. Ben, do you want to take the next one?
What is the name of the 1984 British horror film about a killer who goes around slaughtering anyone wearing a Santa Claus suit?
1984. Huh?
I
You haven't seen this one?
No, don't know it.
I've got a copy of it.
You did. What is it?
It's
Open till Christmas.
What's it called?
Don't open till Christmas.
No, I never saw that. Don't open till Christmas.
oh, it's
Okay.
good. I think Vinegar Syndrome released a nice edition of it last year.
Oh, no, I like anything they release. I like.
yeah.
I like
Yeah,
their. I
check
like
it
their
out.
releases.
It's over here somewhere. I'll find it later. Let's see. Which 90s movie is about a serial killer who winds up mutating into a killer snowman during the Christmas holiday season? So Killer Snowman.
Oh, it's got to be Jack Frost, right?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
I quite like that.
That's a fun one. Yeah. Ben, last
That's
question.
a fun one.
Yeah, it's good. Not the one with.
What's this?
Go ahead.
Is this? Yeah. What's this a tagline for? If this is this right? Yeah. If
Yeah,
this
that's it.
picture doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight.
Don't know, but that's a great tagline.
It's Black Christmas. It's right here on my shirt.
Is it really? Oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm so bad
Yeah,
at
see-
taglines. But that's a great tagline. That's
Yeah,
great.
it's good. I don't know if it really has anything to do with the movie, but
I was just gonna say I don't remember that being the tagline. That's so crazy.
yeah, it's on the original poster.
Wow, that's cool, man. I
Well,
like
that
that
was-
shirt too.
Thank you. Let's see. And I like your sweatshirt, Tales from the Crypt. Can't go wrong with that. And Ben
Yeah, that is
sporting,
awesome.
I think that's a Jaws shirt, right? Amity Island. Am I right? Yep.
Well, I got all my Jaws. Oh, you can't see it back there, but I got my Jaws stuff back there too. I even got like the huge blanket. I love it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
that's
got
cool.
a
Look at
big
Ben's.
chair.
Yeah, he's got his whole thing going on there. I like it. Well, Jaws is literally my favorite movie of all time. Like out of all Jaws is number one. If I was ranking just movies in general, Jaws is my ultimate movie.
Definitely
Same with
mine
Ben.
as well.
That's cool. Well, this has
Yeah.
been amazing.
I'll do-
Go ahead, Ben.
No, so I was going to say with your Silent Note, I think you can sort of look at it in the same way as Jaws, because Jaws, a kid gets killed, and they were like, Steven Spielberg was sort of like, if a kid can get killed in this film, anything can happen, and it's like sort of same with Silent
Totally.
Note, really.
Yeah, we actually did reference that. It was one of the things we said. If a kid can die, that means the audience goes, well, this shit can go anywhere. And
Yeah.
so that was definitely brought up.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, like I said, thank you so much for chatting with us. This has been great fun.
Yeah.
We love Silent Night. Very impressive films. Can you share a little bit about some of your new projects that you're working on now?
Yeah, definitely. I have a werewolf movie coming out soon with Frank
Nice.
Grillo, and it's called Werewolves. The movie will
Awesome.
hit theaters in February. It might be early March, but I know Universal was talking February 26th or something like that. That's going to be full theatrical, so
Very cool.
it'll be everywhere. So it's really my first big theatrical film. All my movies do some kind of theatrical, but
Mhm.
this one's the first proper theatrical release, and it's cool that it's werewolves because I've always wanted to make a werewolf film, and getting a chance to do that was a lot of fucking fun. And practical werewolves were a lot of fun.
Awesome. I
So
can't wait.
the movie's bananas. It's crazy. There's a lot of really great werewolf kills. But anyway, yeah. So that movie will hit. I'm literally right now as we speak. I'm doing post on it every day. We're finishing up the mix in the next couple weeks, coloring the film tomorrow. So it's really close. It's almost there. So I'm excited for you guys to see it.
Cool. Congratulations. Yeah, maybe we could even have you on again to talk about that film in a few months.
100. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Great. Let's see, Ben, before you do the closing, Stephen, how can folks find you on social media?
So everything from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram is all at Stephen C. Miller.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm at. So
And that's how I found you.
Nice one. Go over to Instagram, follow us over there at A&B Horror Movies. Obviously, if you've come across this video, you found us on air, so hit the like and subscribe because that helps our channel. And thank you very much to Stephen for coming on.
And check out
Yeah,
Silent
guys,
Night
thank
if
you.
you haven't seen it.
Yeah, thanks. Check it out.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.